After decades of dependence on imports, India's most ambitious military journey begins. The journey towards fighters' self-reliance. A new dawn for 100% Desi combat aircraft. It's called Mission 470 informally, and we've got a big news break on something that's going to be an absolute milestone, a game changer as far as Atmanirbhar Bharat in defense is concerned. Remember, since independence, viewer, India and India's Air Force have been completely dependent, mostly for understandable reasons, on foreign combat aircraft. All of that is about to change just 12 months from now, and I'm going to show you some hard facts that will change your mind about it. This truly is all about Atmanirbharta. In just 12 months from now, viewer, something is going to happen. Something is going to change that takes the current game of India's overt, overwhelming dependence on foreign weapons and foreign combat aircraft and turn it completely on its head. Watch this exclusive report by India Today's Akshay Dongre. It's an informal mission called Mission 470, and it's something that's going to turn India from a country that has always imported weapons and systems for its air force to one that makes its own and sells them abroad. Watch this exclusive report. This is Mission 470. Ripping up the skies over India's aerospace capital, fighters from India and the world in a deadly aerial dance. But amidst all the sound and fury that only a jet engine can exude, there's a thundering new dawn rising for the Indian Air Force. One that seeks to take decades of legacy dependence on outside fighter tech and replace it with India's own. India today has learned that this ambitious drive is being informally called Mission 470. And the reason for that, in case you hadn't guessed, is that starting February next year, the Indian Air Force will begin receiving the first of 470 fighters designed and built right here in India. Let's take you step by step through this big plan. Things will kick off in February 2024 with the delivery of the first of 83 LCA Tejas Mark 1A fighters, a hugely improved version of the current Tejas in service. Meanwhile, the Indian Air Force will also begin to order 108 LCA Mark II jets, aircraft that are derived from the original Tejas but enormously more capable, with better performance, stronger engines and far superior capabilities. You're familiar with the LCA Tejas, but this is the Mark II and it's actually a vastly different aircraft. It's actually a bigger aircraft. This scale model tells you a little bit about how that final look is going to be. Some big differences. It's a heavier, longer aircraft. As you can see, it has these canard foreplanes here for greater maneuverability. It actually increases the agility of this fighter. If you look at the weapon systems on board the LCA Mark II, it can actually carry a much larger range and more weapons than the LCA can. Very, very importantly, if you come to the back, you can't really see it here in the model, but the engine that goes on the LCA Mark II is going to be a much more powerful engine on the existing LCA Tejas of the Indian Air Force. While this happens over a decade, India's most advanced fighter in development, the 5th generation stealthy AMCA, will come online and begin deliveries of at least 126 units to the Indian Air Force. On a parallel track, the Indian Navy will also begin receiving 100 twin-engine deck-based fighters or TED-BF for its aircraft carriers, fully purpose-built naval jets to meet the Indian Navy's future requirements. Well into the next decade, that translates into 470 Indian-designed, Indian-built fighters for the Indian Air Force and Indian Navy. With Defence Minister Rajnath Singh declaring that 3/4 of India's present and future weapon modernization budgets will be reserved for Indian industry, the future looks bright. But nothing is ever as simple as it looks. As India sets down a path towards Atmanirbhar fighters, can it remain steadfastly on track? Bureau Report, India Today. Indian Air Force Chief Air Chief Marshal V.R. Chaudhary spoke to India Today's Manjeet Negi, where he detailed Mission 470. Take a look at this.
फ्यूचर जो हमारे एयरक्राफ्ट हैं हेलीकॉप्टर उस पर क्या किस तरह का जोर वायुसेना का रहेगा?
जोर तो रहेगा हमारे 5th जनरेशन और 6th जनरेशन टेक्नोलॉजीज़ पे, ताकि चाहे आमका हो या चाहे मॉडर्न जनरेशन कोई भी मैंड अनमैंड टीमिंग जहाज होगा तो उसमें जो टेक्नोलॉजीज़ शामिल होंगे, हम यही चाहते हैं कि ये 5th to 6th जनरेशन टेक्नोलॉजीज़ उसमें शामिल हों।
और अगर हम LCA की बात करें तो आपको लगता है कि LCA हमारे जो मिग सीरीज के जहाज हैं उसको रिप्लेस करने की दिशा में तेज़ी से उस पर काम हो रहा है?
बिल्कुल हो रहा है। जैसे ही ये 83 LCA Mark 1A का कॉन्ट्रैक्ट जो फुलफिलमेंट शुरू होगा अगले साल से, तब हमें उम्मीद है कि आने वाले सालों में 3 या 4 स्क्वाड्रन्स LCA के आएंगे और उसी दौरान MiG-21 फेज आउट हो जाएंगे, तो 1-to-1 रिप्लेसमेंट हो जाएगा।
प्रधानमंत्री ने कहा कि भारत अब रक्षा के क्षेत्र में हथियार के क्षेत्र में एक बड़ी ताकत के तौर पर उभर रहा है। इस वक्त जो देश और दुनिया के हालात हैं, हम देख रहे हैं रूस यूक्रेन युद्ध, किस तरह से आप देख रहे हैं क्या हमारे जो वेपन हैं स्वदेशी, उनसे हम भविष्य की लड़ाई लड़ने की दिशा में कैसे आगे बढ़ेंगे?
इसमें कोई शक नहीं है कि आने वाले सालों में हमें कम्प्लीटली आत्मनिर्भर रहना पड़ेगा, हथियारों में और एयरक्राफ्ट में भी। तो इसको मद्देनज़र रखते हुए जिस दिशा में हम चल रहे हैं बिल्कुल सही चल रहे हैं और हमें उम्मीद है कि आने वाले दशक में लगभग 70% हमारे हथियार मेड इन इंडिया रहेंगे।
So let's just decode for you what this Mission 470 is actually going to look like. Step number 1, 133 light combat aircraft Tejas Mark 1A aircraft, out of which 83 have already been ordered. 50 will be part of a follow-on order in the years ahead. Step number 2, 108 LCA Tejas Mark 2 aircraft, which are currently in development. The first aircraft is going to roll out in just a couple of years from now. So 108 of those. Step number 3, India's most ambitious aircraft, the Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft, which is a stealth 5th generation fighter. 126 of those are going to be ordered. In a parallel track, 100 naval twin-engine deck-based fighters will also be ordered for the Indian Navy's aircraft carrier, and that brings it to a total of 470 fighters at a minimum that will be contracted over the next decade or so. All of them designed, developed, tested and built right here in India. Now I want to tell you why Mission 470 is so big. You're wondering, okay, India's building fighters, 470 of them will be ordered, but what's the big deal? Why do I need to care about this? Why is this so massive? I'll tell you. Number one, the Indian Air Force's current fighter fleet is overwhelmingly composed of imported jets, you know, from Mirages to Rafales to Su-30s, etc. So there are very few Indian jets in the Indian Air Force. Of the 31 fighter aircraft squadrons, viewer, would you believe it that only 2 squadrons have Indian-built fighters, Indian-made fighters? Number 3, this Mission 470 will solve the Indian Air Force's chronic nightmare over imported parts and imported spares. Every time something goes wrong with aircraft, many a times they've got to look outside to get things fixed. Number 4, an Indian Air Force fighter fleet for India, 100% made by India, gives us a great deal of autonomy over the fleet. Remember, several countries are also interested in Indian fighters, so this gives us a leg up in that direction. And finally, India becomes a low-cost manufacturer of advanced aircraft, advanced jets. Just like in many other domains, India could be a place where many other countries want to manufacture their jets because we create an industrial ecosystem that is much more cost economic than any other place. And finally, it will create lakhs of unskilled, skilled and super skilled jobs right here in India, from the making of the aircraft to the software and systems, to the mission computers. These are jobs and employment across the board and will be there for a very, very long time. Now, the LCA Tejas is going to be the cornerstone of Mission 470 because it is with this aircraft that things are going to begin. I just want to enjoy the sound that this aircraft's been making as it captures the eyeballs at Aero India. Listen into the beautiful Tejas.
Designed to showcase the might of the powerful GE 404 engine. Ladies and gentlemen, Tejas rolling and piercing into the blue skies of Bengaluru.
So next February, the first of 83 improved versions of the Tejas will be delivered to kick off mission 470. But like I told you, India's fighter fleet is overwhelmingly composed of foreign fighters that we've either bought directly from the outside or just license built here in India with no real technical benefit to Indian industry and Indian designers. Take a look at our fleet and you can see what I mean when I say it's overwhelmingly foreign. MiG-21s are from Russia. We still have them. MiG-29 fighters are also from Russia. The amazing Mirage 2000s are of French origin. These are the aircraft that were used in the Balakot airstrikes and in Kargil. Rafales are our newest fighters. They are the big brothers of the Mirage 2000s. These are also from France. The venerable Su-30 MKI, India has the largest fleet of these aircraft. They are also from Russia. HAL builds them under license in Nashik. Jaguars are Anglo-French, they're from England and France. And finally, the Tejas, the venerable Tejas, which is a new feisty little fighter, belongs very much to India, even though it operates on an American engine. It is a fully otherwise an Indian fighter. Now, it may seem like I'm painting a very rosy picture of all of this, the dawn of new fighters, an incredible decade for Atmanirbharta, but we've got to be realistic because this is a complicated issue. So I want to ask the big questions here as well on India today. Number one, what if Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, which will be the company building these aircraft, what if HAL and DRDO do not deliver on time? If they don't deliver on time, it makes plans go haywire for the Indian Air Force, and the Indian Air Force may be forced to import aircraft in the interim. Number two, what if HAL and DRDO do not meet the Indian Air Force's capability requirements with these aircraft? Then again, the Indian Air Force might have an excuse to look outside the country. Will the Indian Air Force, on the other hand, put its money where its mouth is for these indigenous Desi jets? Will it use the same energy for Indian aircraft as it has over the years compelled to on foreign fighters? Number four, will extra energy be spent to support Indian jets? Surely they deserve a little extra dum, a little extra push and momentum since they have so many benefits having been built here in India. Can Indian jet programs be derailed by vested interests and by foreign firms? Because foreign firms stand to lose contracts if Indian jets become mature and win the contract. So could there be some shadow play that makes things go off track for Indian jet programs? And finally, can the Indian government, in this case the Modi government, ensure the end of Babugiri and ensure that all these companies, DRDO and BEL and all these companies, stick to their deadlines so the Indian Air Force does not need to suffer? These are hard questions to be asked, but this is an ambitious drive where the benefits will be absolutely enormous. India Today's defense correspondent Akshay Dongre, who happens to be at the Aero India show right now, caught up with the man actually overseeing the development of many of these fighter aircraft, from the LCA Mark II to the 5th generation stealth fighter AMCA to the TED BF for the Indian Navy's aircraft carriers. His name is Girish Deodare. He's the Director General of the Aeronautical Development Agency, or ADA, in Bengaluru. Watch this conversation. It's an exclusive.
We have AMCA in development. Where are we at the development phase, and by what time can we expect a prototype production?
Yes. So AMCA has been in development for quite some time. In fact, the design started in 2009, and there were a lot of challenges in AMCA because you cannot ask a foreign country for these technologies. They are never shared. So as was mentioned by DG NSM, the materials, the stealth materials for AMCA have now been developed. We are sure what material will be used in what part, and all those are qualified. So that's a very important achievement. So the aircraft design is also complete now. How we are going to get the stealth and how the design is, how we are fitting all the parts together. So we have reached that stage where we are at the critical design review, where the design is now complete 100%. See, what happens in the fifth generation aircraft is the emphasis is more on stealth than aerodynamics. However, a naval aircraft has to come and land on the carrier, where aerodynamics becomes critical. So we weighed the two, and we are going for a 5 minus. So it's not a fourth generation aircraft at Wave, it's a 5 minus. So other than the stealth shaping, which spoils the aerodynamics to a large extent, it is effectively having all the fifth generation technologies. Tejas Mark II we are expecting very fast. In about 5 years, we should start the production. And that we are confident because the path is clear.
Mission 470, which was reported in the Tribune also earlier today, is something that the country needs to be very, very proud of, because this is a thrust by the government that basically says, look, we know that things have gone wrong in the past, but now we're willing to put in the hours, put in the money, put in the hard work of supporting indigenous platforms so that we can really achieve self-reliance in the military. India can forget about being a superpower if it continues to be dependent on outside economies for its military and security needs. Now, while we've been talking about indigenous aircraft and the Tejas and the AMCA and Mission 470, the United States Air Force has added 2 more aircraft to its fleet at the Aero India 2023. 2 supersonic B-1B Lancer bombers, these beauties you see in these pictures, flew into the Aero India show in Bengaluru yesterday, and they've been flexing their muscle today as well, leaving a lot of people wondering, what are these strategic bombers doing here in India? Take a look. A truly scintillating display of one of the world's most beloved and iconic aircraft. The crowds in Bengaluru were in ecstasy as these 2 American B-1B Lancer supersonic heavy bombers roared into the Aero India show. Lovingly called the Bone, these strategic jets first flew nearly half a century ago and remain part of the formidable and far-reaching US bomber fleet. Once a platform for nuclear delivery, the super sleek jets now wield conventional weaponry of every kind, including air-launched cruise missiles. But why are B-1B Lancers flexing muscle in India, you're wondering? Before you wonder if India is thinking of getting its own bombers, the answer is no. India has no such plans. But the jets buzzing Bengaluru are most definitely an act of strategic messaging to the region, most definitely to China as well. As India and the United States forge closer military ties and bilateral relations, the US is making it clear that it stands with India to keep the peace in this hemisphere. American messaging is seldom subtle, and with a pair of bones in the air, this is pretty typical of how the US Air Force does things. The US bombers flew into India in the wake of a pair of F-35 Lightning II fighters that have already captured massive eyeballs and mind space at the ongoing Aero India show. As India Today has reported, these jets too are here not for a sales pitch, but as a reminder to India and the world that the US controls the best weapons technology on Earth. 2 iconic jets, one a late Cold War era beast that's still bristling with bombs, the other a stealthy little jet that has set the standard for future fighters and combat, signaling, "Thy name is America." Bureau Report, India Today. And let's just show you what else has been ripping up the sky over the Aero India Show 2023 over Bengaluru. Like we just showed you, the United States Air Force and its new 5th generation stealth fighter jets, F-35s, have been demonstrating their prowess at the 5-day Aero India exhibition. These supersonic multi-role Lightning IIs have flown in. They're part of a demonstration team, and they've been the cynosure of all eyes, capturing so many eyeballs. People have come from far and wide just to see them. It's their debut here in India. Like we just showed you, the United States Air Force has been here in strength. Another American fighter made by the same company, the F-16, the legendary F-16 is also at Air India. Here it is, full afterburners on, taking off from the Yelahanka Air Base. The F-16's upgraded version, the F-21, happens to be in the race for an Indian Air Force order of 114 fighter jets. Lots of vintage aircraft in the air over Aero India. This is, of course, a Dakota aircraft that's on air display at the air show. This Dakota aircraft played a key role in India's Pakistan War of 1971 and is known by its Indian name Parshuram. This particular Dakota was refurbished at the expense of Union Minister Rajiv Chandrasekhar, and he made it a personal gift to the Indian Air Force back in 2018. And these are beautiful images taken by India's latest drone product. It's called Tapas. It's a long endurance drone that will soon be in Indian military service. Well, this drone flying at 15,000 feet captured these mesmerizing images of the Aero India inaugural flypast. And aviation analysts around the world have been praising the image quality recorded by Tapas. This is India's very own surveillance drone. And who doesn't love aircraft formation flight? A Trishul formation featuring Sukhoi 30 MKI fighters drew collective gasps from onlookers at the Yelahanka Air Base in Bengaluru. They've been flying on a daily basis at the show, so if you're there, this is the sight you'll see for real.
Lord Shiva, the destroyer. Lo and behold, you now have a Trishul in the sky.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.